Hey everyone, the name's Erik Thor. I work with Neo-Jungian Academy and we develop fresh and modern theory on personality psychology. We talk about the cognitive functions and the personality types like they've never been discussed before, with more depth and with more theory. Now, I'm here to talk to you today about the subtype theory. We have been talking about the theory that a personality type can be divided into 4 subtypes, sub-patterns, depending on your culture, your development, your environment. Now, these subtypes are based on 2 core theories. The first is that your personality type is not a limited set type, but it is a system of preferences. An INFJ has a set key preferences, but then it can act and choose to act however it wants to. But when it does act in a particular way, it has impacts on a person's health and their motivation. So the 4 functions reflect how you gain motivation, what motivates you the most, what your passion is. Now, with the subtype theory, we can predict how your health is impacted depending on which subtype you fall into. So we can say that a personality type has 4 different patterns and that each pattern is associated with a certain health or emotional state. The first pattern is of course recognized as the personality type at their best. An ENFP acting like an ENFP is the most passionate. An ENFP acting like an ISTJ is the least passionate, and that you can use to predict how they experience each cognitive function. So an ENFP has a specific extroverted intuition that is unique to them that ISTJs don't have. An ISTJ has a specific form of extroverted intuition which is different because they associate it with different emotions and in a different way. Often I will say the 4th function is the bad one. The 4th function represents a type gone bad. And that's generally the case, but you can use your 4th function in a healthy and mature manner. So the key here is to differentiate between healthy and unhealthy use. So what you have is, for example, the 2nd subtype, which is a reference of the 2nd function used with a set amount of responsibility. The 2nd function for a personality type represents your higher sense of awareness. You use your 2nd function with higher responsibility than one who uses it as their 1st or 3rd function. In particular, the 3rd function is associated with immaturity and with irresponsibility. It's a sense of relief. It provides relief to you. It's your inner child, and it's a little less mature than your 2nd or your 1st cognitive function. The 3rd function is also associated with humor. Now, the 2nd function, it's set to be about responsibility. You use this function with a sense of awareness of your parents' expectations, your school, your teachers, your mentors, what they want you to be, what they imagine is best for you. So when you use this function, you use it to live up to these expectations wherever they may come from. The 3rd function, of course, represents your more immature beliefs, your more suppressed beliefs. But I want to go and hang out another day at the movie park, the theme park. The 3rd function has a less sense of responsibility. It's a slacker function, it's a hobby function. You can use it to escape from responsibility briefly. The 4th function, it represents your type gone bad. In the grip of the 4th function, you are acting and being something you're not, and it's having a consequence on you. You become less positive, more negative, more angry, more caught up in negative emotions. You become possessed by something and you feel less in control of yourself. This 4th function is associated with more hyperactive behavior, more anxious and reckless behavior. And so that is why you can say that overall the 4th function has a negative influence on a person when it becomes the grip. Now, overall, with the subtype theory, you can predict how each person, depending on each cognitive function, can change. But a question that emerges is Is a subtype permanent or is it just temporary? And through this, it can become permanent, almost more or less permanent. An INFJ who comes and to use extroverted sensing too much might find themselves so in the grip of this function they can't really escape from it. And this can become a problem because overall, yes, you can change, but it can require months and months of focus. It can require long-term action to somehow overcome this issue, and it requires a more comprehensive action. You can't just attack one part of it or change one part of it. You often have to change your entire belief framework, and everything you come to learn has to somehow grow and modify to free yourself from this influence. Overall, it would be hard for me to, for example, because I have a subtype number 2, I have an extroverted feeling influence, which is high on extroverted sensing as well. And it would be hard for me to go into the subtype number 3 with high introverted thinking. It's not a function I like to use, and it's a function which influence I prefer to avoid. And this can be more or less healthy. If you balance your functions, if you balance your emotional state, you can come to fall into the subtype number 1. I can sometimes fall into the subtype 1 and subtype 3 and the subtype 4, depending on my mood. And the temporary changes happen throughout every day. When you meet a new person, you change. When you meet a certain person, your behavior changes. If your environment changes, so do you. It can be hard to hold on to and be focused in one subtype. Through this, we are all constantly changing. The more you're able to change and the more you're able to use all these functions in a balanced, healthy way, overall, the more healthy you will be as a person. Because through this, sometimes we can't just rely on our passion alone. We can't just use introverted intuition and extroverted feeling. Sometimes we have to use extroverted sensing. And then the question is, how do we use it with balance? Just as for an ENFP or an ENTP, learning to use introverted sensing in a balanced and mature way is a key to growth. We use the subtype theory to give advice on health and how a person can come in touch with their motivation. And that's a big difference from the MBTI. Because in the MBTI, overall, a person will be more interested in finding out their limited set behavior. They get overall a stereotype description outlining the general personality traits associated with said personality type. And the problem that comes up for anybody who uses the regular MBTI is they will notice that their behavior is constantly changing. Yes, you are constantly changing. You are not locked into any particular personality type. A personality type should only be considered a preference. It should not be considered a limited, narrow field of who you are. And when it becomes a limited and narrow field of who you are, I think that can become very destructive and damaging. Through this, we have come to use and blame evil for being a certain personality type. We have come to act as if a person is only their first 2 functions. And we have come to ignore everything outside of this. And that's not balanced, and it doesn't help people know how to grow. Through this, the biggest issue, a lot of people note this when they use the MTI is, but how do I grow? How do I improve? How do I develop myself? How do I come better in touch with my passions? Am I really an INTP or am I just a stressed INFJ? That's a big important question that you should be asking yourself. Am I an ENFP or an INFP? And what does it say about my health and who I am? I want people to come better in touch with their passion and their true motivation, because then they can live better, more fulfilling lives. That's the key goal for me with this project. I want to help people get more in touch with themselves and how to live happy, healthy lifestyles. And that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, a share, or a subscribe. Thank you all for watching.